Welcome back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader, with a quick update on Bitcoin. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you that it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. Chicken to China, the Chinese chicken, critic of the top, and you know the clock's ticking. Better buckle up, and I hope you put your shoulder in. We just got rejected, and it's called continuation. We're in a downtrend. But anyway, welcome back. I just want to talk real quick about how we knew that was going to happen. Obviously, if you're here now, you caught the last video, which basically just played out all that price action exactly before it happened. And I know there's some confusion because people don't understand divergence, and I went into detail explaining it, but I just want to point it out now that it's played out so it's very clear that we're going to continue to sell off here. What happened is we put in a high here, and then this green line represents price was going up still, and then we put in another high, and the high that we put in here was low, and then the high that we put in here was higher. So we're in an uptrend on price action. And now the corresponding highs on our oscillator indicators did not correspond with the highs that we put in this trend here. So now I'm going to go down to the Jewel Thief, TJD Jewel Thief, and you'll see that the knife came up here. And the reason this doesn't show up on other people's charts and they can't figure out why they don't have this, I wrote the script for this. I designed this from nothing. No one else has this. So that's why. And if you go up to here, you'll see we put in a high, and it's very high here. And then when we come back up, we put in a lower high, and then we put in a lower high, and the yellow represents a downtrend in the indicator oscillator. So now you see from the high here, it's downtrending, and this high is corresponding at the same level. So that's the beginning of divergence, because technically we're already higher here when we put in this second one. So we've already put in divergence, but it's basically the same high printed on there, but it took less energy to get there. And then when we get this next peak right here, it's even higher. So now this one's higher here yet. I'm sorry, this is the first one. And then when we get this peak, it's higher yet. And you'll see down here, we're even higher up now than the two previous peaks. And it took even less energy. So let's go back to it. So it took a bunch of energy to get to the first high, and then it took less energy to get to like the same high or a little bit higher, and then it took even less energy yet to get to a new high than all three of these previous two, rather substantially. And that's the divergence playing out. And this right here is essentially what I call the spring, or it's like a slingshot being pulled back. It's the trend being pulled in the opposite direction of the move that's about to happen. So you force a breakout through like a key resistance, or take out stop losses that people have in place expecting there to be a jump rejection, and then all of a sudden you get that violent sell-off from it as you take everyone's stop losses off. And then this right here, reaction, this is the reaction rally. It's an automatic rally that takes place as we blow through all these stop losses, and you'll see they almost always correspond in crypto at 20%. So depending where you go from, you're always going to see like 20% moves. So that's 17% if you go from there. So I imagine it's probably exactly 20 from the top. Yeah, it's 19.42. So depending what exchange you're on, and I didn't quite get the top here, it's 20% exactly. And the reason that is leverage. It's like a lot of times like 5x leverage. If you get a 20% move, you can take out everybody that's 5x leverage. So you just force a massive move like that, and it just washes out all the leverage people. So the only people who survive that move are like 3x leverage or spot people. Everybody else gets taken out. And that's a huge manipulation move. When you know what leverage everyone's using, you can just use, calculated move like that on a single exchange when they're all correlated together, and there's so little liquidity in the space that it's able to like force that move to happen. And look, we're already getting the continuation. Everyone's saying they're expecting to find support here and bounce back up. No, this is a reaction rally we got off of that low breaking through. If we were going to hold support, it would have been right here. Okay, so depending what happens here, and now we just closed a candle down at basically like that resistance support level, I would expect us to retest down here, and now we're going to see the real question is, do we put in a higher low or do we put in a lower low here? Because what needs to happen basically to fulfill this next algorithm, we came down All right, this is what we were talking about in the previous video about how was this going to retrace the entire, like just the single wave once we maxed out here, or was it going to retrace the entire wave? So I already drew the fib right here from the bottom at 38.41 first, okay, before everybody else. So they can now, after I put this video out, you'll see it popping up everywhere, I'm sure. But we came all the way up here to just over 10,000. So now the first fib level that we come down to is the 236. And when we come down to the 236 and we tag that 236, which is exactly where the wick came down to here, we bounce. But that's a confirmation that we are now retracing that entire wave, like, or that entire structure. So we came up here, we come down to the 236, we confirm that we've put in a high. Once you confirm that, you can start fibbing from the top here. So now what's going to happen, we're either going to come down and touch that 236 and then come back up and put in a lower high. And that's often where you'll see like a head and shoulders form. But because of this big wick, it's going to be hard to get a pattern like that. We sold off so violently. At this point in time, it looks like we're going to come straight down here, I think to like this 77... whatever, 7,800, and that would be like the 382. But usually you get like a better bounce than that. But again, we'll see what happens here. We could come down, that's the 382 of the blue, but we could just come straight down to the 236, tag that, and then get the move back up. Excuse me. Get rejected again at the 9,100 level. But essentially what I would expect to happen is continuation to the downside. Now you want to look for, essentially at this point in time, you know, what's the trend doing? Are we going to find support on this long-term yellow, or are we going to get the continuation like down and start retracing like the next level? Because the 382 of the green level is going to be 7,600, and then 7,000. Yeah, 7,000. And then the 0.5 is going to be the green level that we were talking about originally. When we were right here, we were saying the two levels that we were most paying attention to are the green down here and the purple right here. And we said the longer we consolidated at this level, the more likely we were to break through it. We obviously broke through it. March up here, took a long position, crushed it on the way up. And then we said the same thing here. The longer we consolidate at this level and hold this green parabolic trend line, the more likely we are to break through. So we got the continuation. I said like 97.50 to 10,000. We got rejected exactly at 10,000, took profits, and that's, you know, basically just went completely flat on everything. You know, covered all our spot positions and everything for the dump, you know, knowing that it's going to happen, just based on statistics. And, you know, if you didn't watch the previous video, you need to go back and watch that video a few times through, and it will explain exactly why all this happened. As well as the indicators and what's going on, why I have like two of very similar indicators here. But essentially I have a new one in the works, and as you can see, it called it perfectly, called these moves perfectly, as well as Fibonacci's and diagonal parabolic trend lines are obviously key in my technical analysis. I know a lot of people don't like you know, diagonal lines, but it's because they don't understand how to draw them correctly. If you understand how to draw a parabolic diagonal trend line correctly, it's just as useful as a fib or a stoke or a MACD or anything like that. Oh, and speaking of the MACD, let's look at the TJD TD MACD. We were just about to come up and tag that blue, and I said we turned it blue again, even though we were underneath it. And what I said was, when you're underneath it and it's turned blue like that, when it flips back over blue and it's not red, it doesn't act as resistance. So I expected us to pop right through it, and then you'll see exactly like we said. We got, you know, all the histograms turn green in a row, and then once you see it turned red right here, that means we were losing all of our momentum. And then, like I always say, once you get the red histograms here, you get two in a row, you take the short position, and you know, and then, like, you know, obviously you get the hard sell from the indicator, and then now with the Bellina Cessna, you know, obviously we got the daily showing up too. So we get the hard sell on the 4 hour, we get the hard sell on the daily, and then immediately get a massive dump that probably destroyed anybody that got into crypto in the last month. And that's part of the reason probably why it's so difficult for cryptocurrency to grow over time, because every time we get a wave of new people, you know, the market makers, whales, just completely decimate them and you know, wipe them out of the space right away, because most people take like a 20% hit and then quit, you know what I mean, or whatever. So but regardless, so here we are getting ready to come down here. I think at this point in time, you know, the most important area to watch is going to be, I guess we can go ahead and we can put in like a short term little guy. I'm looking at this area right here basically. I want to see what happens at this area and see, because this is essentially just the same area. All we did was we were at this crucial point right here, and this is why I said this is the best area to take a position, because it's a key pivot in the market. So we're looking to pivot. We're going to pivot right here. And I said, are we going to pivot here and go down to the green, or are we going to pivot here and go up to the purple? And you'll see I drew these in way ahead of time, and look, we come exactly to this. I don't just draw blue boxes all over everything and then say, oh, if this low. No, it's clear that some people have an understanding of what's possible, and then other people have an understanding of what's probable and likely. And like I said, once we tuned into the algorithm and basically figured out what was moving this market, it was very easy to see this price action and exactly where everything's been going. So and if you're not familiar with my videos, or you're new to the channel, I'm not a bearish person in this space. It just so happens that we've been in a multi-year downtrend, and my channel is like a year old, so obviously I've been bearish the last year because we've been going down the whole time on the macro. So but you'll be able to learn a lot from any of my previous videos as I go into detail about my specific indicators. Also, they are all available for free on TradingView, and except for actually the newest one is not available for free. And there was some questions from people about the difference between the Jewel Thief that they have currently and the one that I'm using, or actually I think it was the TJD Jewel. I can't remember which one people were asking about, but yes, I am making some modifications to various indicators as well as creating new ones all the time. I release a lot of them for free. Some of them are not available for free or for pay at this point in time. They're like just mine. I mean, I show them off in the channel and everything, but a lot of them are still being created or completely brand new or whatever. So at some point in time I may make them available. I don't know. But in the meantime, I'm just working on, basically creating them and, creating a trading plan that corresponds with them as well, and kind of like fine tuning it. So, but there you have it. I would essentially expect us to kind of bounce around at this area, potentially get our retest up to 91.38 or 9200 area right there. But if we can't close back above 9200, then I think the most likely thing that's going to happen is we're going to pop back down here to like 7700 and retest our yellow parabolic trend line. And let's zoom out here real quick to a long time frame and just remember what's happening here. Okay, on the massive long time frame. Let me switch over actually. So on longer time frame, what's happening here? We basically get this big move up here, come back down, and we find support on this yellow parabolic trend line. Once we lost the yellow parabolic trend line, we lost it, we came down, we found this green one. And this is our parabolic trend support here. And then once we found the green one, we said we're going to come all the way back up here. We're going to retest the breakdown. And that's what I was saying about some people don't understand, the diagonal lines, and that's why if you don't understand them, that's fine, that's totally cool. You don't understand this red line here, you don't understand the yellow or the green, that's cool. Don't use them. It's not for everyone. And that's the difference between a legit technical analyst and just somebody who is copying from someone else's chart. It's harder to copy a diagonal line than it is to copy a Fibonacci. So but the reason they're so important is once you break down from a parabolic trend line, you often come back up and retest it as resistance. And that's what we just did. We found resistance at the parabolic trend line of the long-term trend. So once we found resistance at that, you would expect us eventually to come back down to the green one, because the green is the next relevant parabolic trend line. So the green parabolic trend line comes into account specifically with the 0.5 Fibonacci of the entire structure that we just retraced back up here. So when that comes back down to the 0.5, that's going to put us at our green circle, which was essentially when we were at that decision point at the red right here, we were going to go up or we're going to go down. So now essentially what it's saying is we went up and now we're going to come back down to green. And when we get to the green, we're going to decide, basically in this area, in this green circle here, we're going to decide now, are we going to, well, it doesn't matter if I moved or not, but we're going to decide when we come back down to this area, are we now going to find support and then continue and move up here and get continuation and break out? Or are we going to fail to find support here and come back down and retest the lows? and that's the most important thing to pay attention to. But the highest likelihood that's going to happen here now, inside of that, you'll see the smaller version of the exact same thing happened. We started moving up here, and we got that parabolic blue line up here. When we lost that, we came back down. We couldn't even get back up to find resistance on it. And then we started going sideways, and we created this green one now. And then when we lost the green one, we broke down from it, and then we found it as resistance. But we were able to like maintain at it. Now that formed the yellow one, where we go from the low to the low to the low. And then we were able to move back up to the green. And the longer you are able to essentially like consolidate at a resistance, whether it's the horizontal resistance Fibonacci or the parabolic trend line, the longer we consolidate at it, the more likely we are to break. So we get this massive breakthrough, like we said in the video before it happened, that the longer we consolidate here, the more likely we are to break. And then bam, we get that massive breakthrough, consolidate again. And now look, we would regain support on the green parabolic trend line. And that's what we were talking about when we got here and said we were going to get another push up. And then when we got the push up, that was the final retest. We had already retested the parabolic yellow of the long-term trend once. And then this was the second retest, found support. And I said, we're not going to maintain support above all of this. That was our blue line support, horizontal support. This is our red line diagonal resistance from the tops. And then this is our yellow parabolic trend line for the way up after our dump. So that's why I said this is a key level, but we were very unlikely to be able to maintain support here. So as soon as we get the massive dump down from here, that obviously, we called out coming, we came straight down to the 236, and now we would expect those moves to play out accordingly. We're going to retest this yellow micro time frame trend line of this move down from 3850 up to 10,000, and then we're going to test that 382, come back up probably, retest the breakdown area, the red diagonal, the blue horizontal, but I doubt we'll get back up to this yellow diagonal here. So we'll basically probably get rejected in the 9200 range here, and then essentially get like the big sell-off back down, and further continuation, at which point in time we'd come down, test the 0.5 here. You can see where all the fibs line up. I'll make another video sometime in between them. I just wanted to do a little recap and give everybody an idea what's going on. This is the time when I tend to gain the most subscribers after people start looking back and realizing that we might not necessarily just be going straight to the moon, and that all the Moon Boy channels and hype and fake TA are not going to help you in the long term in this space if we're not in a bullish long-term uptrend, which we're not. And if you look at the altcoins, they look absolutely horrendous long-term, compared to Bitcoin. But again, we'll see how that all plays out in time. I would expect at this point in time, as we start to, if we continue to sell off here, I would expect the altcoins to lose market cap and more of that money to go into Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin will sell off less proportionately than the altcoins will. You'll see like consolidation a lot of times into Bitcoin from the altcoins, and then the altcoins selling off like massively. Now in the event that we do find support here and continue to the upside, take out this high, and start moving up here, that's when you'll potentially see like lagging behind, the altcoins will get like a massive move, and then after like Bitcoin kind of like tops out, you'll see like the altcoins follow behind it with like even bigger gains. But again, that's like the transition into like an actual bullish long-term uptrend. At this point in time, the most important thing we need to pay attention to is just continual lower highs. We put in this high back here at 20,000. We put in another high here at like 14,000, and then we put in another high here at like 10,000, and we put in another high here at like 10,000. Actually, I think we were closer to 10 and a half. Yeah. So at this point in time, we need to pay attention to what happens here. We could potentially find support and continue up here. And then if we can break above this and start getting continual candle closes, we can get the relevant, like legit move and retest like the 14,000 high. But if we get rejected here and get continuation down, the most likely thing that's going to happen is we're going to retest this green parabolic trend line. So that's it for today, guys. Crypto Trend Trader, back with another TA session. I hope you learned something. And for those of you that watch my previous videos, obviously We saw all this ahead of time, and it is beautiful to see this brand new indicator playing out absolutely phenomenally right out of the gates with almost no fine tuning. Well, using my specific settings, which have like literally like, I don't even know, thousands, tens of thousands of hours of research and time put into them. So I highly recommend that you check out the indicators, the charts available in the description, and definitely appreciate everybody, all the support and everything. And I noticed lately that a few people have been kind of lagging off and everything. I know these are tough times, so if you're out there listening, stay strong, guys. I know it's a struggle right now with the economy and everything going on, but stay safe and continue to better yourself, and we'll all come out of this better off. So, Crypto Trend Trader, love you guys, and I'm out of here.